He's going to kill me for that later. There's a huge difference. Like when I first got married to my first husband, he looked at me and he said, "We're moving down to Houston, Texas." It's like, what? I'm adopted. I'm an only child. And my parents were my life.
Yeah.
And you're going to do what? I mean, what about Buffalo or Syracuse? No. He wanted to go down south. He wanted to go where it was warmer. At that point, that was like in '79.
Sure,
Houston was huge with, you know, a lot of building, a lot of corporations were moving down there. I mean, it was the in place to find jobs and everything else. And I was devastated. Oh, don't worry about that.
No, don't worry.
What do you have?
It's that
Something that
chaos.
you should. But, you know, it was like, it wasn't that I had a bad feeling that something was going to happen. It was just a feeling of, I don't want to leave my mommy and daddy.
Yeah.
I want to be up where I feel safe.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that same feeling. It wasn't wishy-washy because...
Mom, I'll put a bullet in the dog like I've been wanting.
I stood there, literally paralyzed. I was hyperventilating. I had never, ever, ever, ever felt like that in that house. Ever. My nanny lived there. My gramps lived there. I never, ever felt like that. I couldn't stay. I ran home. Mm-hmm. Ran home. And you know, poor parents, they figured they were going to have a night alone. I know, I did. I ran home and I'm like, oh my God. And my mom was like, what's wrong? And I said, I can't stay down there. I can't. And she's like, honey, it's Nanny and Gramps' house. I'm like, I don't care whose house it is. I can't stay down there. Well, what scared you? Well, what am I going to say to him? I don't know what scared me. I just know that I was terrified. Now, I don't believe that there was something in there that would have harmed me. But I don't know that that didn't happen because if I had been there, maybe something would have gotten in to harm me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I really feel like it was more if I had decided to stay there overnight, something bad would have happened. The fact that I wasn't there, nothing happened. Because my guides have always been extremely protective of me. They let some stuff happen to me because they're like, okay, stupid, you gotta learn.
In the closet, and it was a passageway from the Underground Railroad. You opened this thing, and there was a ladder going down to the bottom of the house. And but I knew it was bad. Like you could hear a baby crying, type of thing.
Yep.
I don't know. It's really weird, but
you're making me. I've got chills.
Well, but I went with her once, and we stayed once. We stayed overnight once, and then it was like, I gotta get out of here. I could not stand.
Last past like 2 in the morning.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, if you're in someplace, especially if it's someplace that you've never really been before, mm-hmm. or you've been and you've had experiences, and it's always been like stuff that have leanings towards past history. It's like you get to a certain point, and if something really bad happened there, it's all of a sudden, if you're at all psychic, it's like your mind and body all of a sudden work together, and it's like, okay, too much bad stuff. I mean, it's everything that happened leaves some type of a dent, I guess, for want of a better word. It leaves an energy, so that anytime anything happens. I mean, again, my house, my grandparents' house, there are so many happy memories in that house. I mean, there are so many incredibly happy memories in that house. You know, I mean, I grew up there. Sometimes my nanny was, you know, like a second mom to me because my mom worked for a lot of years.
yeah.
But I've gone into other places that I really should feel very, very comfortable in. And it's like I walk in and it feels like I'm walking through sludge. And it's like, ooh. And then I start actually going around to the various parts of the house, and I've been in places where it's like, okay, somebody was murdered here, this happened here, that happened here. Used to use a friend.
Sorry, up
You were doing your days before the cell phones.
Oh, I know.
Just turn out, no?
Yeah, I am.
I used to have a girlfriend that lived over in Sealy Terrace in the city. And I really liked her house. I mean, it was like an old house. It had like what is it called? Like the gum wood. And I mean, beautiful molding, beautiful floors. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. But there was a very odd energy in the house.
Yeah.
really odd. And finally one day we were there, and we were both psychic, so it was like we really started delving in to stuff. And
Look at the curtain.
yeah,
There's a breeze though.
But the breeze was showing a few minutes ago too.
No, I can feel the breeze.
Okay.
It's that thing blows around all the time.
But and this one day, you know, we had dinner, and we're sitting there, we're just talking, and she's like, "What do you think happened?" And we started bouncing stuff off from each other, and by the end of the night, we were terrified because it felt like there had been a cult there. We had seen this very tall, thin woman, immaculately dressed all the time, but it felt like she was in charge of things, and we felt like there had been pedophiles, molestation of children, murders, all the stuff. We felt that at one point in the incarnation of the house that it had been a whorehouse. But, I mean, there are whorehouses and there are whorehouses. This is one of the bad ones.
Yeah.
You know, this wasn't one of the more elite ones. This is one of the bad ones. So there was all this stuff, and by the time we were done, it was like, wow. It was like massive, all the crap that had gone on there.
Yeah.
And it was scary in a way, but at the same time, it was like, okay, now we know why sometimes if you go into this room, it's a really nice feeling. You go into that room, and you're all of a sudden feeling like you're being pushed. And what we finally did, because the woman's spirit was around the house, and there was this little girl that they had kept in a closet, and they did unspeakable things to her.
Mm-hmm.
And this one night when we were there, we connected with a little girl, and I mean, it's horrible. It's a spirit, it's a ghost. And all we could hear her was crying and saying, you know, help me, I need help me. I know, help you too, huh? And she had been raped. She had been starved. She had been beaten. And she had died there.
Yeah.
They had murdered her. And whenever this woman's energy would come near her, she would start screaming, and then, you know, she would go in almost into a ball. So my friend and I finally said, okay, that's it. You know, your spirit cannot be in this house anymore, because there's too much of you here, and it's making all of the other spirits that you hurt and harmed here, they can't deal with it. So we actually kind of did almost like a ritual, and we enclosed her in like a tomb that she couldn't get out of. And the feel of the house is so much different after we did that. You could walk in, and you could sometimes feel the little girl running around playing, and she said this woman had so many cats, and you know, you could tell that she was having a blast with the kitties now, and it was so wonderful to see, to see that healing that even could be done on that side of things.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like but it was nasty. It was nasty. When we finally connected with the whole thing, it was like, oh my God, this woman was probably, she was evil. She was evil, and it was like, wow, to be evil over that span of time, and not be able to do anything to her. And when we finally did, it was just, oh, thank God. And then there's you.